Oh, you're here for the story reading, I see. So brand new story today we're starting. So, yes, Hansel and Gretel, the dynamic duo, tricked the witch closer and closer to the oven. What do you mean every start? It needs to start at the beginning with Once Upon a Time. So does your characters. Let's talk a little bit about that. For clarity, Once Upon a Time are not the mandatory first 4 words of a character history, but your character did exist before the beginning of the game. Who they have been definitely is going to impact how they react to situations or how they develop as the story unfolds. So a backstory, by definition, is your character's life up until the moment where the campaign starts. It's a personal history explaining the skills they've learned, the people they know, the events that shaped them, whether traumatic or beneficial. And it starts at birth until they finally decide to strike out into the world as an adventurer. It takes your character from a flat collection of stats and mechanics to an actual 3-dimensional living and breathing entity and sets you up for deeper and richer roleplay opportunities. This character building, in my opinion, is the foundation of what makes this game so magical and so much fun. No denying, sometimes it is hard to know where to start when all you have is a blank page and your limitless options on where to go. Writer's block is too real, and let's talk about 3 different ways and resources to help get the ball rolling and get over blank page syndrome. And for this, we go to the chalkboard. First is the This Is Your Life section on page 61 in Xanathar's Guide to Everything. If you are going to invest in any additional source books beyond the Player's Handbook, 100% this is my recommendation. Anyway, this section is filled with tables that, with a few dice rolls, can help you determine everything from the number of siblings you have, the lifestyle you grew up in, who your parents were race-wise, and even if they were around. It forced me out of my comfort zone on a few decisions, which led to me making one of my favorite characters I have played thus far, a tiefling artificer warlock named Promise. It gave me structure to fill in some holes with my own flavor, so don't write this one off if your concern is tables mean you're going to have the same character as 100 other people who did those same roles before you. Second is what I call the rule of 3s, something I came up with and use personally. You just abandon writing chronologically, throw it out the window, and just think of 3 key people, 3 places of importance, and 3 events of note, good or bad, big or small, that have happened in the character's life thus far. This could be on the scale from a momentary meeting with someone to an event with a lifelong friend, or the place they grew up to 3 whole kingdoms they've traveled through. You work backwards from there. How did they meet these important people? When do these events fall in their life's timeline? Those kind of questions. Then, finally, and it's going to sound weird, but stick with me, leave at least 1 from each category with a loose end or an open ending. That important mentor you wrote about, maybe they moved on suddenly and your character never got the closure they needed. Or did they get murdered and the culprit was never found? This gives your DM ways to tie your backstory into the larger campaign. It is really tempting, believe me, to not have loose ends, but resist the urge. You will get a big payoff for it. The last resource is for developing a high-level concept you might already have in mind and want to develop a bit deeper. A fellow D&D content creator I love, Ginny, came up with a list of 50 questions to answer about your character. It can get you in the mindset of your character, which is great for starting roleplay, and can spin off thoughts of where, why, how, when, to get those creative gears spinning for filling in some of those blanks that you couldn't think of before. I will link the written list as well as her channel down below. Backstory. Check and check. Now, backgrounds. Backgrounds are a mechanic of the game that are meant to be a jumping off point for history or bring in an already written backstory into the crunchier parts of the game. Does your character like cooking and finding new ingredients? Chef's tools and survival would be perfect. Was that important magical mentor of yours an orc? That's how they speak Orcish and know about Arcana. At the time of recording this, there are approximately 99 pre-made backgrounds and the ability to build custom ones. So we're going to go over a breakdown of an example, rather trying to speedrun all of them like a hummingbird on a freaking sugar rush. First few are lightning round style and pretty straightforward. You will get 2 skills off the skill list to do game proficiency in. They are listed here. Right below that are tool proficiencies. Depending on the background you have, you could have languages instead of tools or a combination thereof. Underneath tools and languages is equipment. Yes, you get some sweet, sweet loot to go along with your background. Alright, now we're getting to the meatier, chunky parts. The background feature gives your character a unique trait which is useful throughout gameplay that complements the theme of your background. For example, Back by Popular Demand allows you to take your talents to amuse and entertain, to ease the charges on your coin purse, or to gain your recognition in the area. This would be especially good for someone who is the face of the party, who needs to interact socially with NPCs, or a boon at least for a party that's a little tight on cash. Next are suggested characteristics. Some players, they skip this. I wouldn't personally, nor recommend you skip it. These are meant to be waypoints or anchors that are important to your character, especially useful in early sessions of the game when you're still learning to think like them. For this, you're going to have to choose 2 personality traits, 1 flaw, 1 ideal, and 1 bond off the tables provided. Personality traits are very much what they sound like, good or neutral traits that your character possesses. Flaws are the other half of that coin, being weaker or negative personality traits, or alternatively a weakness or a vice they have. An ideal is a very core belief that drives their character, hope, greed, justice, etc. A bond is a way to tie your character into the story, whether it be a place, person, or history. Sounds kind of similar to something I said earlier, about leaving holes. So you're going to work with your DM on choosing these, or you can also work with them to create your own from scratch. So not every backstory has the remaining 2 parts, but it's part of the reason I picked the Entertainer. First is additional tables. These are tables that deep dive into critical key parts of the background. An Entertainer can be a jack of all trades, but they would have one go-to talent or strength that they'd be best performing at. That table allows you to figure out what. Second is an official alternative or variant. This helps cover those common situations that are, it fits, but it really doesn't. So in this example, a gladiator makes sense because they probably didn't just fight. They learned how to put on a show for the crowd while they were doing it. Say you like about 85% of the Entertainer background for your character, but the remaining 15% isn't really bad. This is where a custom background is a great option. This is picking parts buffet style until you have a plate that you will enjoy, consisting of any 2 skills off the skill list, any language or tool, maximum of combined of 2, and equipment from a pre-made background, as well as a background feature from any pre-made background. And finally, 2 personality traits, 1 flaw, 1 ideal, 1 bond from any table on any of the backgrounds. So you say you opt for the variant of the gladiator. You think they wouldn't want to hide who they are or act as someone else, or even play an instrument. So neither of those proficiencies or tools make sense. Your face and your fists were the entertainment after all. So if you travel on the circuit, you might have been exposed to different languages. So swapping out those tools for a couple of exotic languages with the DM's permission is a great use of a custom background. Same if you felt the ideals or bonds in the soldier background fit better with the character. Alright, one final note, so every DM out there is not cursing my name. Just because there are dozens of backgrounds, custom options, and limitless opportunities for writing your character's backstory or making a background, doesn't mean they're all fair game. talk to your dungeon master to see if there are any source books, specific background options, or ideas from your history that are totally no bueno or no good. Anyway, we're stopped there for now. That's enough for your brain to start chunking through. And like, subscribe, and hit the bell to stay on the loop when the next video goes up. This is Geeks with Scarves, signing off. See you later!